What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. I am heading back from being at the FedEx store, printing like literally 300 pieces of paper. I kid you not, probably a little bit more. Now, while I was in there, what felt like forever, I was listening to a lady talk, and she needed to ship something, not far, but she needed to ship it. And so they're talking to her. They're like, "Oh, you have a business account, yada yada," and she's like, "Well, I have a cleaning business." But I had to let go of one of my contracts because it was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And at the end of the day, by the time I looked at it, I was commuting 3 hours a day to go clean a series of banks. And I'm sitting there with my mouth wide open, like 3 hours a day. And then she couldn't start cleaning the banks till 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So she lives here, I guess, somewhere in the edges of Fayetteville. So if it's taking her an hour and 30 minutes to get up to Raleigh and do the series of banks, I think 5 or 6 banks she was telling them, and then drive back home at the end of the night, I could not believe that. I was like, that's too much. That's too much. Sorry, that's too much. Because it just doesn't, the cost doesn't weigh the benefit. And common sense would say at some point, let's say she wanted to get more contracts for her business in Raleigh, she should either outsource them or she should, she should go live closer to Raleigh, right? And that was my whole mind the whole time. I'm sitting there like printing things like, what? So she was shipping back keys to some of the contracts, so she had to ship back keys. Anyway, that was me ear hustling at FedEx. But here's what I really thought about it. The more I sat there and thought as I was printing papers, a lot of people, when Glenda and Cameron, a lot of these people say the average American is making $28,000 or $35,000 a year. It's the truth. I went by, now you guys know Lowe's is closing some stores, and I went by Lowe's. I used to work at Lowe's. Worked at like 5 different Lowe's. And I also checked the one back in my hometown, and there were still people working there. And I remember them complaining, I think this was 7 years ago, about being paid $10 an hour, and they were still there. There's an older black guy still pushing carts. Still, my mind is just sitting there like, right? Because at the end of the day, when I'm sitting here talking about owning a business, people are like, "Oh, Erica, that's pie in the sky." Really isn't. It's really the mindset. Because I'm sorry about yawning, but once I started talking to more and more business owners, it's really a mindset thing. And the fact that when people sit here and want to argue with me about, well, Erica, there's not that many $100,000 a year jobs. They're everywhere. You're just not going to like slide into them like putting an application in for Jimmy John's. You dig what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have some skill. And when I posted on my Facebook page in Austin, Texas, the bulk of people know me are in Austin, Texas, where it's a plethora of 100,000 a year jobs, but you got to be what? A sales manager, some type of manager, right? Or you have to be in some type of tech. And people are like, "Oh, Erica, those jobs aren't everywhere and they're stressful." So people want to get paid 100,000 a year but have a stress-free job? Like, the funny thing is, Samsung, you guys know what Samsung is? So sorry. Samsung phones. Samsung company has a giant, I can't even tell you how many acres it sits on. But basically, it has a warehouse in Austin, Texas, on the edges of town. And it's been out there so long, now houses are being built around it. And they're like, "Oh, it's noisy at night." It's a factory. It's a factory. It makes phones. It makes all kind of stuff. It's a factory. How dare you complain about a factory being loud? So at the end of the day, that's one of the highest paying companies in Austin. 100,000, 150,000, 170,000. It is not uncommon to hear people making 180,000 working at Samsung. It's not uncommon. But again, everybody complains about the level of stress. They're like, "Oh, it's a Korean owned company. The Korean owners are so harsh on us. They make us work so hard." And when I talk to other people that work at Samsung, they're like, "What did y'all expect? It's a job." Like, if you literally talk to some people that work at Samsung, they're always like, "Damn millennials whining about working," right? And the reason I started like going on Udemy and getting more certifications and filling all this stuff out was so that I could tap into that market. Because at the end of the day, when people say, "Well, Erica, you always gonna be a business owner," if you want to walk away, let's just say you can't take it anymore, or a major calamity has happened where you want to get out of your you're owning your business, which, I mean, each his own. Everybody has issues that they have to deal with. So who knows what your reasons could be. I would not take anything lower than 100 to 150K. And people, when I say that, they're like, oh, Erica, you're so full of yourself. No, I'm not. The jobs are out there. You have to determine, do you want to go spend the time to get the certification, to get that skill, to get in that company and get trained? Now, the fastest way, in my opinion, to get wealthy, to retire, to create your own schedule is creating your own business. And I will still promote that on this channel. Do I think everybody needs to own their own business? No. But I think everybody needs some ownership. Now, this lady had the right mindset. She owned her own cleaning company. That's great. But the fact that she was spending 3 hours a day driving, oh no. She at some point needed to switch that company to a place where she could hire people who could go to those Raleigh stores for her. Now, this again is my juicing. It's a cold press, beets, spinach, lemon. Gotta fight. I gotta fight because the cold is out here. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you're going to have a business, make sure you set it up so that you can be replaced. Not only replaced, I mean, you don't have to physically go do all that work. So when people say, oh, everybody's out here balling, going on vacations, no, they're not. Half of Americans are out here making $28,000 to $32,000 a year. And the only way to overcome that is either a really high income job, which requires you to get some certifications. And are certifications easy? No. No, they're not easy. I mean, I don't know where people are thinking that they're supposed to walk up and just apply for a 150K job and it be easy. I don't know where that's coming from. Now, there was a video about a guy who has a doctorate degree in neurologically or whatever. I have to go look it up. Glendon shared it on Facebook. But again, my whole point is, if somebody has that type of doctorate degree, why are they homeless? They're in the wrong state. They need to go to a state that, or any state, honestly, that will accept them for their work. I know people who are so addicted to academia, they will not work anywhere else. I know somebody on the brink of divorce because their husband won't get out of college class. Like, he only wants to work at college. And he only makes $40K a year. They're like, we cannot afford to bring you on as any higher level professor. Or make any extra money. Now, the only way you make extra money that way is if you start teaching classes on the side at community college. If you start teaching extra classes on Wednesdays, or like bad hour, like 6 to 9 on Wednesdays where people don't like teaching those classes anyway. That's the only way. And when people confront him about that, he does not want to hear it. This is my dream job. I've always wanted to work in academia. And it's like, okay, dude, you got a house full of kids. You got a wife. You've always wanted to work there because you want the prestige and the status. But again, if that's what you want to do, if you tell me, Erica, no, I just want to work in academia, I don't want to work anywhere else. Okay. But here's what I'm telling you. You need to figure out how you can own more rentals or own more assets, because the numbers don't make sense. If the numbers for your life don't make sense, I don't care how much it is your dream job. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. But it is showing more and more people are commuting because why? They need cheaper housing. Right? So they may save some money on the housing because they don't live in the city. Like, when I was in Detroit, I was shocked how everybody works downtown in the day and then drives out. So the roads are crazy in the afternoon and in the morning because everybody's driving. And when you talk to people, when I was talking about my Uber driver, when I first went to Detroit, he was like, well, nobody knew the city was going to crash like that. I mean, everybody moved out to the suburbs. He was almost apologizing for living out in the suburbs. And I want to go, no. Live where you want to live, but don't complain. You know, don't do crazy 3-hour commutes, 4-hour commutes. Even when I'm in Austin, a lot of the military people just do not want to live in Killeen. So they live in Harper's Cove. And a lot of them are now starting to come down into Georgetown. What's that name of the other city? Florence. A couple other places because they don't want to live in Killeen. So what you're doing is you're having a person get up and drive 45 minutes to an hour every day, depending on the traffic at the gate. So they don't have to live in Killeen. So a lot more people are commuting these ridiculously long hours. Here's another thing. The cars, I'm telling y'all, this, this recession you're gonna see. I don't know if you guys remember. Oh yeah, Temple. Thank you, trucker. Temple. They live in Temple. My cousin bought houses in Temple when they were stationed in Fort Hood. The trucks. I'm driving this Jeep Cherokee right now, and it costs $50 to fill it up. Now, I was just doing the math. I'm not driving a ton while I'm here, but I know my routine, how I drive, and in Texas, like I drive all day and night. I'm driving all over the place. I'm all over the place. I'm looking for stuff. I'm driving for dollars. I'm doing all kind of stuff. Now, imagine if I was doing that in this Jeep Cherokee. I would easily spend $200+ a week in gas. Easily. So in my mind, as I'm driving, and as I'm even now, as I'm doing the math, if I had to spend $200 a week on long times 4, that's $800. Okay, then you're even talking about the truck payments. If this got this truck brand new, this Jeep Cherokee brand new, it would be I think $40,000+. So you're talking about an $800 almost a month payment. No, not even that high. More like a $500 a month payment. But once you add in gas, $800 in gas payment, $200 insurance, you're spending $1,500 on this vehicle. And I'm sitting here doing the math like, this recession is going to do a wake-up call. I don't know. To put a 1 in the comments if you remember last recession, everybody started having these little Hondas. Like all of a sudden on the road when I was driving, everybody had little Hondas, little cars, like little gas-efficient cars, little Ford Fusions everywhere last recession because they could not afford the gas. I remember that. I remember when people, that's when I knew it was real. That's when I knew the recession had really hit because I was driving in traffic and it went from all trucks, all pickup trucks everywhere to all of a sudden little baby cars, old Lexuses, old Hondas, old cars everywhere. And then you start seeing on Craigslist, Ford Focus for sale. For like $6,000, and you're like, okay, bro, you're way overcharging for that sale. Same thing. Oh, look at Sam says. There you go. Sam says I used to sell GMC trucks, and I left the business because truck sales died off. High fuel prices and later the recession. Exactly. There you go. See, y'all remember my commute is 45 minutes. I'm so jealous of people who at my job who live 15-20 minutes away. Bridget, I wouldn't live in Killeen either. I don't blame. As much as I make fun of Killeen, I want to buy some more rentals there. I love the content. I'm just busy staring at your hair. Thanks. Hi, what's up? Working on software certification. I'm telling you, this is if something happened, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what could happen. Hey, Erica, got a 4-cylinder, $25 full tank. Man, listen, that little Ford Fiesta I got parked. I'm getting a Tacoma, but that Ford Fiesta I got parked, 40 miles, almost 40 miles to the gallon. And I be having to refill that tank. So I can just imagine if in this Jeep Cherokee I drove my regular Austin miles. I'm telling you. And when the recession came, those cars were parked at the house. Those cars were Friday night cars. Those cars were payday weekend cars. Same thing with the boats. I remember people telling me in Austin when something happened with the economy, all of a sudden boats are everywhere for sale. Boats everywhere for sale. Boats for sale. And it just cracked me up because it just showed. We got a veteran in this neighborhood where my mom lives, and he essentially, I guess he has PTSD, but he skateboards every day now. He says he sells stuff on eBay. Hey man, get it how you live. But essentially that's my whole point to people is I can see it coming. I can see the red flags, but when you hear people driving 2 and 3 hours for work and you so bad want to ask them, does that mathematically make sense? Like I remember a woman saying she worked in, I don't know if it was physical therapy at the time or what, but she was making she said in Fayetteville, she could only get $48,000, even with a military base, like unless you worked on Fort Bragg. But in Raleigh, she could get $62,000. So she drove every day in an SUV to Raleigh from Fayetteville. And the first thing everybody kept saying is, why don't you move up there? Oh, I don't want to move in Raleigh. I don't want to move there. And get it, I get it. It's hard building community. It's hard going to new churches, new neighborhoods, and all that stuff. But just the math on it, even though by the time she goes from 48,000 to 62,000, which it looks nice on paper, she gained what, 14 grand? But then you're still talking about taxes. Then you're still talking about the gas, the new tires. I mean, it just, in my mind, the more I thought about it, I'm like, it doesn't even make sense unless you move. So a lot of people are sacrificing time driving. And that's why I'm big on, if you're going to be in the car for long hours, like a lot of these truckers, be listening to some of these audiobooks, be listening to things that can enrich your mind, because it's going to be hard for you to get out of those jobs. And when the math comes down to it, I just don't get it. I'm getting my boat and truck money ready now. I'm telling you, I'm not even gonna lie. I literally, everybody's like, oh, just wait 6 months. Like, I want to buy a house so bad in Austin, but I'm like, okay, if I wait 6 months, I'm gonna move even further into the city. There's properties I see right now that have been $1 million, and they got the down arrow. They going down little by little. And I know, I promise you, I know, if I wait 6 months, a lot of things are gonna be on sale. But you gotta have cash. Like right now, I'm on a ton of the auctions, and the auctions are like cash only, which I already know you can go on FA commercial, and you can literally still get the property, even though it says cash only. Or if you use a hard money lender, it's still considered cash only, right? So a lot of these sites are adjusting, and I think that's what it is. They're adjusting because they're getting ready. Yeah, Jason. Had a V8 4.9 cylinder Cadillac. Got rid of it quick back then. Trey Wilson. I see a lot of caddies parked at houses. They ain't going nowhere. So, thank you, Mars. But like, I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to rant too long today, but just that moment listening to that lady, 3-hour commute. Like, she owns her own business and she's got a cleaning company. I literally want to tell her, you need to figure out how you can get connections on Fort Bragg and get cleaning jobs out there. For real. Because that makes no sense. So, do the math. See if it makes sense financially before you get some of these crazy jobs. And again, you guys, Salesforce, all these tech opportunities out here, gotta get your investment up. Investment in yourself. Investment in the time to check these courses out. Anyway, there's 112 of y'all in here. There's 31 likes. If you could please, if you're watching this video later or now, like the video, share the video. Thank you so much. This is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Probably be back on later this week with Dr. Meadows. I think he's coming on this week. We got some great stuff lined up this week for y'all as well. Ooh, DC area, 2 and 3 hour commute. Yep. I remember. Listen, I was in near Bethesda, Maryland, taking my mom to Walter Reed, and we had to go 7 miles, and we sat in traffic an hour for 7 miles. I was upset. I was like, I will never live up here. You could never convince me to live up here. Ever. So anyway, you guys, should I wait to buy a second house with financing? No, but Battle Buddy Bob Hunt. If you have a deal under contract, get it. If it's going to cash flow, get it. Do it. It'll be worth it. Only people that I tell to wait, and even then, I'm not even telling people to wait. I'm like, in order to be in the game, you have to be in the game, if that makes sense. In order to see the deals, you have to be on people's email lists and talking with people and applying for financing. That's why with this whole FICO score, when people are telling me, oh, it's coming in January, I'm like, you're not out there actually in the game. Because it's been doing this all year long. They've been asking for 3 and 4 months of bank statements. I went to one bank and asked for 6 months of bank statements. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, Atlanta Angel, while you live up north and you have the higher income, that's when you get pre-approved. That's when you get pre-approved. And that's how a lot of our friends that left East Carolina University, they went up north for like a year or two, and they were like, oh, mom and dad, I can't live up here. I've been so used to driving easy roads in North Carolina, I'm gone. And they would get pre-approved while their income was high and then come back into Raleigh and buy. So I'm just telling you, get pre-approved early. Thanks, I'm buying around Fort Hood. All right, Battle Buddy, connect with me. We might be able to partner on something. All right. Everybody, this is Erica from the Classic Line blog. Later.